Well, hello. I hope you guys are hungry. I am. For dinner, we're going to be cooking Sage Crusted Pork, and we're also going to be cooking some pear chutney to put on top of that pork. And for the side dish, we're going to cook cinnamon sweet potato slices. Stick around, you'll enjoy it.
The thought had occurred to me.
Let's talk about the ingredients we're going to need to make that delicious rub for that sage crusted pork. We're going to need olive oil, 2 to 3 cups fresh sage, orange zest, kosher salt, 3 garlic cloves. First thing we're going to do is put the sage in the food processor, then add our garlic cloves and 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and blend in the food processor for 30 to 45 seconds or until finely chopped. Next, we add the 2 tablespoons of orange zest. Add the 1 1/4 cup of oil. Once again, process it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Take the rub and work it into the pork chops. Do both sides. Now that we've finished putting the rub on the pork chops, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the refrigerator and we're going to let the pork chops marinate in the rub overnight. Now, we're going to take the pork chops out and let them sit for about 30 minutes before we put them in the oven. In the meantime, let's get our cinnamon sweet potato slices ready. What we're going to do first, we're going to peel the potato. So we're going to cut this sweet potato up into about 1/2 inch little wedges, probably about this size. So now that our sweet potato is sliced up, the next thing we need to do is we need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So now we're going to take our cookie sheet here and spray some non-stick cooking spray on it. And then we'll go ahead and put our sweet potatoes on that cookie sheet. So now we want to take about 1/4 cup of melted butter, and we're going to spread about half of that on our sweet potatoes right now. Now we're going to take 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 2 tablespoons of sugar, and we're going to mix this up, and we're going to sprinkle half that mixture onto our sweet potatoes. Now that our sweet potatoes are ready, we're going to go ahead and put it in the oven for 15 minutes. Now that 15 minutes are up, we need to take out our sweet potatoes. We're going to go ahead and turn them or flipping them over. And we're going to add the rest of the butter to it as well. And the rest of the seasoning. Now we're going to put our sweet potatoes back in the oven for another 15 minutes or until they're tender. Now that our sweet potatoes are done, we're going to pull them out of the oven. We're going to set them aside and get ready to put our pork chops into the oven. Now that we've left our pork chops 30 minutes at room temperature, it's time for us to go ahead and preheat our oven to 500 degrees. And now it's time to place them on the cookie sheet. It's a bit of a messy job. I'm going to take a little leftover rub and put it on top of my pork chops. Let that sage soak in, add more flavor. Now that our oven is preheated and ready, I'm going to go ahead and put our pork chops inside. Next up, the chutney. So let's talk about all the different ingredients we're going to need in making this pear chutney. 1 large red onion, 3 garlic cloves, fresh ginger, maple syrup, red wine vinegar, 4 to 5 ripe pears, ground clove, ground cinnamon, sugar, raisins. First, let's start by dicing our red onion. I'm just cutting the onion. Next, we're going to go ahead and mince our 3 garlic cloves. Then we're going to go ahead and peel our pears. After we finish peeling them, we're going to go ahead and dice them. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil into this pan. Then turn the pan on to medium heat. Let's warm that up. Get that oil all around that pan. Once the oil is heated up, we're going to go ahead and add the diced pears to the mix. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stir the mixture. I'm going to cook these pears on medium heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. Looks like our pears are done. I'm going to go ahead and set them aside. And I'm going to move this pot over here. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We're gonna turn this on to medium heat. Once the oil is heated up completely, I'm gonna go ahead and add the red onions. Be careful. Now we're gonna go ahead and stir these red onions for about 8 to 10 minutes or until they're tender. We just finished sauteing these red onions. So now we need to add a 1/3 cup of raisins. I'm using regular raisins, but you can use golden raisins as well. Also, a teaspoon of freshly minced ginger and those 3 cloves of garlic from earlier. And we're gonna let this cook for about 5 minutes, continually stirring and sauteing it on medium heat. Now that 5 minutes is up, we're gonna go ahead and add 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground cloves. Stir it all in for about a minute or until you can smell all the spices. Ah, yeah, you can smell the spices. So now it's time to add a 1/3 cup of red wine vinegar. We're also going to add a 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup. And we're going to cook this for about 3 to 5 minutes, continually stirring. Now this looks good and ready. It's time to add our pears to the mix. And we're going to cook and stir this for another 5 minutes. Well, we have to add a 1/4 cup of fresh parsley. And then just go ahead and stir that in to the mixture. And now our chutney is ready to go on top of our pork. Now our pork chops are ready. So let's go ahead and pull them out. Oh yeah, those look really good. That's some good pork. Now it's time to put our entire meal on one plate. Let's add that chutney to the top of this pork. So now we have a finished meal. Sage crusted pork and cinnamon sweet potato slices. Now our meal is ready to be served. Now I know what you're thinking.
It's pork, so you can't say.
I can't have a steak without a drink. But
this pork's got me thirsty, baby.
I'll be pairing tonight's dinner with a Merlot, vintage 2014. Well, dinner's served. This looks really good. Don't look at me like there's going to be leftovers. There isn't going to be any. Cheers.